This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
It's time for the WWE Podcast Mailbag on this Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you haven't joined us before, this is the show for the listeners. It's a show that you guys get a voice for. It's a show you can email. You can call us. The email is mailbag@wwepodcast.com, and the number is in the description notes of the show. So check that out and contribute if you haven't already. We got a lot of first-time callers and emailers over the last several weeks, and I'd encourage you to join us. So let's get to it. Let's jump right into the emails.
Hey, yo, it's me.
It's Rocky T.
All right, Rocky T, kicking us off. He says, I can feel the anger and frustration coming through my radio from you, your voice. Well, first of all, you're listening on the radio? I know what you mean, but I haven't heard anyone say radio in a while. Just funny. But you say that you can feel the anger from my voice on the topic of Roman not defending his title since WrestleMania, and more than likely he won't defend until SummerSlam. This is not an excuse, but if you remember, Triple H addressed this on the night he announced the draft and the new world title. He stated that Roman negotiated it into his contract not to be obligated to defend his gold at every PLE or within the 30-day rule. Now, I may have a perspective that will put some ease on everyone's nerves about this. WWE and UFC merged, and if WWE is taking a page out of the UFC book, then in this case, Roman defending the belt every few months shouldn't seem like such a big deal. UFC fighters only fight 3 to 4 times a year, if that, and UFC championships are only defended an average of 1.7 times per year. So UFC title opportunities are harder to come by and really have a big-time fight feel to them when they do happen. Maybe WWE is trying to start the same trend with the undisputed title. Valid points, Rocky. Valid, okay? I'm not discrediting them. That's a good observation, one that no one's brought up to me. But there's a difference, a big difference between UFC and WWE, okay? And that is, one sport actually has the competitors trying to hurt one another. The other is trying to work together. And I think that's a big reason why we have been conditioned over the last, even however many years anyone's been watching, that typically the rule has been that the top champion, does defend at every pay-per-view. And to some degree, have we been spoiled with that? Yeah, compared to prior to, the WWF going global. Of course, in the territory days, before the WWF took wrestling national, the champion would float between territories and you only get a title defense every few months. Agreed. But to re-educate people after they've been used to the championship being defended every month, it's difficult. And I know what they're trying to do with Seth, although I think it's going too far to the other extreme. And they just, for some reason, won't make it a happy medium. Is with Seth going crazy, allowing anyone to have an opportunity, disrespects the championship he's holding, and I'm not a fan of it. I understand what they're trying to do. It also not only is disrespectful to the championship, but also overexposes Seth Rollins and may cause burnout with Seth going to NXT, Raw, open challenges, multi-opponents. I mean, you risk many factors. Big factors with doing what Seth is doing, and I think they've taken it to the other extreme, which I don't like. But number one, the difference between UFC and WWE, biggest is one's trying to hurt, the other one's not. Okay, and sure, Triple H did address it, but we had already been conditioned to that with Roman. We were complaining, but not to this extent with Roman. That that's right, he missed a pay-per-view, but he'll be back the next one. The biggest issue I have is this 4 months that it's going to be is egregious. I understand it doesn't have to be the every 30-day rule, which they have long since just decided not to enforce, not just with Roman, but across the board. It has been a very select time that they decide to implement that rule, or enforce it rather. And so that, sure, Triple H did mention that. He negotiated it. Well, yeah, you negotiated, you didn't have to defend it every 30 days, but now we're going up against 120 days by the time SummerSlam rolls around. There has to come a cutoff. There has to come a point where it's like, okay, you said not every 30, but did we really mean by not saying every 30, it could be 120? It could be 150? No. It's insane to me that they've gone this long. I understand why. And some may be okay with it because of how good the Bloodline storyline's been without the belt being involved. It's just also, I think, hurting Roman Reigns' run, as I've said, artificially inflating his run to a certain degree, because he's going to go 120 days unchallenged. It's a little excessive is all my point is, but I appreciate the point, Rocky. All right, let's get to our next email, and this comes to us from patron the G-Man, and he says, I had either LA Knight or Damian Priest to win the Money in the Bank ladder match, but now with Logan Paul in the match, this changes everything. I honestly can see Logan winning that briefcase and cashing it in at SummerSlam to defeat Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Can we please? Okay, before we go on to the next one, I can't see Logan Paul winning. I can't. Seth just got this championship. As much as I don't like the way that they have treated the belt, that anyone gets an opportunity, you don't have to qualify, you don't have to, basically the word earn doesn't exist when it comes to the World Heavyweight Championship. It's just basically tweet at me, bro, and I'll give you a shot. It's just the lowest of low standards that you have to achieve in order to challenge Seth Rollins for the belt. Basically just be employed by the company and you get a shot, which is insane. But again, he just won it. And they're trying to be the anti-Roman. You don't want to heel Roman Reigns that's basically held that championship captive for 3 years. And also a heel champion on Raw with Logan Paul. Logan Paul, who's had, 3 matches? All of them very good performances. Logan Paul, as much as I don't like him on, really any level, outside of just being inside the ring, he's a good heel, and he's very good in the ring. He has no business being that good, and he has clearly put in the work to respect the business, and I respect that. But that doesn't mean he gets to be world champion. I think that would be a mockery of the championship, that a social media star who's been here for a cup of coffee gets to win the World Heavyweight Championship. That is just egregious, and they don't want that, I think, staining Seth's run. Seth just is getting going. I think it would put it would chip away at the goodwill of fans who are now going, oh my God, now we have Logan Paul, who's already shown he's only here every few months. He's on the Roman Reigns schedule. And now he's going to take the World Heavyweight Championship on top of him being a heel. It's just another version of Roman's schedule. On top of the fact that Logan Paul has not come anywhere near earning a top belt championship opportunity. I know he challenged Roman, but you get my drift. No, he's there as a red herring. He will come close. He'll probably be involved in the finish with LA Knight and him on the ladder. And that's fine. He'll be entertaining. He does absolutely add to the match. He is a hell of an athlete. He'll take crazy bumps, and good for him, and I respect that. But he's there to make the match better, not to win. That's it. If he wins, this show may turn explicit instantly. All right. Can we please have Trish Stratus as women's champion one more time? I hope she sticks around until after SummerSlam. It's such a joy seeing her on Raw every week, and she's still great in the ring. Thank you, Trish. Look, I'm kind of on board with the thank you, Trish thing too. Albany, when they were here in Albany, New York a few weeks ago, during the commercial break, we were all chanting thank you, Trish. And Trish, shut us down because she's a heel and doesn't want that. That's not the desired reaction, but there is a respect there. And she's not just like in for a match and gone. She turned heel, and when she turned heel, you knew, okay, there's more to this than just a one-off. And she's been very good in the ring, at least compared to what you expect from her and what you've seen in the past. And especially now that the standard that the women of today have set, I figured she wouldn't come anywhere close, and she has done a very admirable job. Is it top notch? No. But at her age, and given how little time she's had in ring over the last 10 years, good for her. And there is a respect there. So I think we should all enjoy it, because she's not going to be here for a long time. She's here for a good time, as they say, right? But her with a women's championship one more time, sure. Why not? That'd be a fun little run, I think. Maybe a 3 to 6 month run. That face-off with Rhea and Raquel was awesome. The match they had in NXT years ago was so good. I'm really hoping this may be the start of a build. It could be. But I also think that they just gave us a foreshadowing of what's to come over the next year or two. I really don't believe Raquel is in line to win that championship anytime soon. I also believe that she is on the path to becoming a heel. Her as a babyface just simply doesn't work. It hasn't been a disaster, but they're doing their best to mask her natural heel qualities. They've done their best, but she is a heel. She's physically imposing, ragdolls her opponents. Look what she did to Trish on Raw. I mean, she ragdolled Trish in what should have been a babyface Trish versus a heel Raquel. I mean, that was the dynamic there. It's just that they're in different stories than that right now that dictate they're in opposite roles. So I just don't think it's time yet, but I think in 2024 that match is happening. Sure. And I agree. That was a fun stare down where it's like Rhea can't just manhandle. There's somebody that she can't just manhandle. And what is she going to do when she can't do that? That is true. Yeah, I agree. Good point. All right. Let's see. Alex, the French guy, I know you also have a voicemail, but let's get your email first. You said, hey, Matt, simple question. Your favorite wrestler from the PG era until now? If you can't choose top 3, not in a particular order. Yeah, good question. PG era. That, boy. I would say, now, let's define the PG era. It started in, 2008? I'd still have to say Edge. I mean, Edge has been just, my God, amazing. I'd say, in no particular order, Edge, Orton, and Cena. I mean, it's not that I cheered for Cena, but I respect his body of work. That's the standard I'm holding. I despise John Cena's babyface character on every level, and I still do to this day. But his body of work, the matches he put together, the promos, which are A+ almost every time, in no particular order, Orton, Cena, and Edge. I know Edge didn't last long in the PG era. He was at the very tail end of his career at that point, but still. Of course, you could talk about Punk, right? You could talk about even Batista at one point or another when he kind of came in and out. I know people would choose him. So those are in no particular order. Definitely. Okay. Let's get to our next email. And where are we at? We got DJ Kuzmo. And he says, hello, AEW and WWE fam. This is DJ Kuzmo back at it again. Gone but not forgotten. Shout out to the legend. Rest in peace, the legend Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik was one of the larger-than-life characters that had a charismatic persona that drew in most wrestlers' fans back then and now. Even myself, to watch his promos and matches that he had was some of the best in pro wrestling. A few things to note about the Iron Sheik was that he was once a bodyguard to the King of Iran, and he once served as the assistant coach for the U.S. Olympic wrestling team of 1972. He was credited as the originator of the phrase jabroni that The Rock acknowledged, used, and made popular. 2 more things to mention about the Sheik. He made a hilarious appearance on the Jerry Springer Show, cutting a hilarious and insulting promo in his native language towards a woman's former boyfriend that looked like a cross between Taz and Stone Cold that I remember watching on a day off from school back in the day. And last and certainly not least, the Iron Sheik's daily Twitter insults, yes, and tirades on Hulk Hogan that I will miss so dearly. One more time, rest in peace to the Sultan of Sheikiness, the Iron Sheik. Yeah, I did catch some of those. Some of those were brutal from the Sheik. I mean, he had no filter. I believe it's still there. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they shut down his account or anything, so check it out. Anyway, with that being said, just put this email to a close. Guys like Andre, the Sheik, Flair, Hogan, Rock, Austin, Cena, Lesnar, and maybe even Sasha Banks became larger-than-life household names in WWE and then outside of pro wrestling. My question is, do you think that the WWE or any other wrestling promotion will ever have or develop larger-than-life characters that are bigger than the business, aka the pro wrestling machine? Because this is what I grew up on during the late 80s and 90s as a kid. This is what attracted me to pro wrestling up until today. Larger than life personalities in wrestling. I look at the crowd's positive response to LA Knight this past Monday night on Raw and on a daily basis on SmackDown. And I'm like, this guy has the tools to be a larger than life persona outside of the business of wrestling in the near future. And then off course, Roman Reigns with the fantastic storyline of the Bloodline, which is now turning into the Tribal Wars. Does Roman at some point take the next step and delve into Hollywood like The Rock? Anyway, not to go further, let me stop there, DJ. Okay, DJ, so, all right, let's start with the larger than life question. Do I think WWE or any other wrestling promotion will ever have or develop larger than life characters? Well, I think that's always the goal, right? That's what Vince would have told you, and probably still will tell you, that that's what we have, larger than life personalities. Well, they attempt to, but actually implementing a larger than life personality does mean that that individual has to become almost bigger than the business, which is very, very rare. And the last person I can think to do that is John Cena. Very, very few get bigger than the business. It is a top 1% of the top 1% that do it. You could name on one hand, count on one hand, how many of those people have become larger than life, bigger than the business. You want to name them? Hogan, Austin, Rock, Cena, maybe Flair. It's a very short list. And I also don't know if WWE wants that to happen in a certain respect. And I remember hearing an interview that Triple H did. I don't know if it was intentionally done or if it was something that someone heard backstage that was reported. But apparently, and this makes sense to me, they actually hope or don't want to, the goal is not to, have someone be bigger than the business because they don't have control. They don't have the leverage over that person because they won't be able to control that person if they want to be going to Hollywood or if they want the names and or the rights to their names to go monetize themselves. They have a hell of a lot of leverage, more than WWE has as an organization when you get that big, and they don't like that. So when you get that big, you can kind of do what you want, and you don't need WWE. It's just there as a pit stop, and it's there when you want to go back, and they don't like that. They like people to need WWE, and the leverage goes out the window when you get to that rarefied air. But at the same time, it does bring more eyeballs to the product. They just don't like the lack of control that goes with it when a star gets that big that they don't need WWE, you know? But again, do I think we'll see it in our lifetimes? Again, depends on how old you are that you're listening. I'm not wishing, that anybody, of course, passes away, but depending on your, how old you are, if you're, I'd say between the ages of 20 and 50 even, it's likely that we do see someone that approaches that. Roman Reigns is getting close. And he is starting to approach that elite status. But do I think that he will take the next step and delve into Hollywood? Yeah, I do. It's a great transition. Why wouldn't he want to? He's got the connection with The Rock, who's the king of Hollywood. Wrestlers have been shown to make great transitions from wrestling to Hollywood. Not all the time, but it has happened. Batista is another name that made a nice transition to Guardians of the Galaxy and was successful there. He's had other smaller roles as well. John Cena, of course, has been successful. The Rock is the ultimate example. But yeah, why not? You get paid sometimes, in some cases, even better than WWE, and you don't have to kill yourself throwing yourself at the ground every night. Now, Roman has a much limited schedule than he used to have. He's not working house shows, or at least rarely does he work house shows. I know he does still occasionally, but it's much less common that he works house shows. He is not really wrestling on SmackDown. He's preserving his body. They're giving him time off to keep himself in physical and mental at peak efficacy with his physical and mental state. Smart on their part to let him do that, and he's earned it, honestly. And I think it'd be a nice transition to Hollywood. The travel schedule isn't nearly as bad, right? So I understand the temptation to go to Hollywood. I totally get it. It's been done before. All right, DJ. Thank you, buddy. Let's dive into Let's talk to James B. And he says, after watching Raw, I felt like I just had to write to ask, what is going on with Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Cody Rhodes and Matt Riddle? They seem to break up and get back together 20 times a week. What do you think about this? Yeah, Matt Riddle's just kind of he's a fun addition to the group on a temporary basis to combat the Judgment Day, right? Or Imperium whenever they appear or did appear. So I don't know the long-term plan with them. I would imagine that he's probably just going to continue to be their sidekick for a little while. I know they're not really breaking up because they aren't really together to begin with. They're just they're not friends, right? On air. They're more like associates that scratch each other's backs when they have a common enemy. So I wouldn't say they're breaking up and getting back together, but getting back together because they're not together in the first place to break up. You know, it's not like they're saying that he's an official part of our team. You know, that's not been what they're telling us. So I think it'll be there in the short term anyway to help them fend off Imperium or to fend off the Judgment Day. I think that's probably where he's headed for the short term. I don't know long term what the plan is. If Randy Orton ever decides to come back and stop being injured because it's a choice to be injured, then absolutely Riddle and Orton will probably get back together as a team. And then I would imagine Randy Orton or Riddle turn on one another when he finally get that program. But all right. Thank you, James. Let's see. Let's get to King Scully. He says he's representing the UK. How you doing? SmackDown was very entertaining. The main reason, as we all know, the Bloodline. The Bloodline story is definitely the star of the show. I find when I'm watching it recently, I'm not overly interested in the rest. I just look forward to the progress of the Bloodline. I mean, the way Roman Reigns was laughing as Jey Uso had something to say to Jimmy before saying those words and super kicking him. Roman sold the double super kick afterwards like a boss. It looked amazing. Not quite as good as the HBK did to Shelton, but it looked quality. I think you're referring to like 2008. Yeah, that was an amazing super kick. That was at the open of Raw forever. But guess what? You out, I'm out too. Boom. Yes, agreed. It was everything, almost everything, has been executed to perfection with this group and this story. It's been excellent. Now on to Raw. Is it me, or were there a lot of backstage interviews? There were a lot more promos than normal, I think, but I'm not complaining. I enjoyed them all, especially Logan Paul. That guy's just a natural. He knows how to cut a promo for sure. Braun Breaker also had a decent promo. Yeah, I noticed that too. But this is not a complaint by any means either. It's absolutely necessary. Under the Triple H regime as a whole, there's been more wrestling over the last 8-9 months. But also, there used to be, before that, more promos and talking than wrestling. And then we got into just getting into the Triple H regime. And his vision for the product, it became more wrestling based. So we've been now re-educated to seeing a lot more wrestling on the wrestling show. So when you see promos that are more frequent than normal, it feels like it was a promo heavy night. When in reality, if you took last week's Monday Night Raw and you compared it to prior to Triple H, you'd be like, wow, there was actually a lot of wrestling on that show. You know, it's all perspective. But agreed, promos are needed. You know, promos are absolutely needed. You can't have all wrestling and no promos, and you can't have all promos and no wrestling. You need both. All right. I like this aggressive side of Finn Balor. It was good and made him actually more of a solid fit to the Judgment Day. I've said before, he looked like the odd one out, but that side of him made him fit. The way he attacked Seth and the way he spoke on the mic, that was refreshing for his character. The Judgment Day had a very solid showing. Rhea beating up Natalya again, too. Yes, absolutely. That attack on Seth, it like rebirthed Finn Balor. It completely, I don't know if rebirth is the right word, but repackaged, refreshed his character. It is the most relevant Finn Balor has felt in many, many months. I agree. Totally with you. And the Natalya beat down again by Rhea definitely leads you to believe there's a Natalya change coming. Maybe she joins Rhea. Maybe she joins the Judgment Day. You know, this usually leads to a turn, one way or the other. And if she's a babyface here, she's probably going to turn heel. But the thing with Natalya is you never know where she is anyway. They just put her in a role that they need her to be in that moment in time. They don't have really like Natalya is always a babyface. They rarely turn her heel. No, it's just kind of like she fits the role, whatever they need her to be. So to say Natalya is going to turn is just like saying, well, it's another day at the office for Natalya. But maybe it means they have a bigger role for her moving forward. That's what maybe you should take away from it. A more sustainable, actual storyline for Natalya. Perhaps. So we'll have to see where that goes. Also, speaking of kind of, on again, off again people, Dana Brooke, I tweeted this on my page earlier today, and I don't know where it came from. Might have been very recent, might have not been. But I know Dana Brooke has been in NXT, and she's had a career of basically no crowd reaction and subpar matches and weird promos, and just kind of the way her career's been. It's indisputable. But there's a GIF, or is it a GIF? I don't know. It's the debate of the century that's going around, and I tweeted it out, where she's going down the ramp and she's flexing because that's all she, I guess, knows what to do during her entrance. And she's trying to high five a young fan. And mind you, she initiates the high five and the fan doesn't reciprocate. The young fan doesn't reciprocate. And so she just kind of like taps the barricade and looks embarrassed, like nothing happened, and keeps moving. It is, my face is turning red just thinking about how embarrassing that is. As a wrestler, you're supposed to be the star that everyone wants to high five, and you don't even get that instant reaction from a young fan. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And I'm not saying Dana Brooke should be fired, but it's without dispute, it's amazing she's gone this far without being fired. I mean, really. How many times have we said, well, she's got to be gone. She's got to be gone. And they continue to keep her around for what? To be a utility person, to be an in-house enhancement talent? I mean, Dana Brooke is she's a case study you could deep dive into. But, all right. Commentary-wise, I heard Corey Graves say, God save the Queen, randomly during a fight which didn't involve any English man. Did he forget here in the UK we now have a king? Not King Charles, by the way, but King Scully. well, all hail the king. Yes, but that is, here's the thing though. I know that you guys have a king. I get that. The Queen passed away last year, but God Save the Queen is it's just kind of one of those phrases that will live in infamy in our world. So while I understand that, he wasn't really necessarily referring to current events. It's just one of those infamous phrases that won't ever die. That's all. All right, King Scully, thank you, buddy. Let's see. I don't think I have much more. We only got one more email, so let's get to it. And let's see. It comes to us. Boy, I'm sorry, guys. My computer is... There we go. It comes to us from Thomas from Vancouver Island, Canada. He says, name's Tom, longtime listener, first-time emailer. Very cool. Wanted to start off by saying I love listening to your podcast. You have a very opposite opinion from mine most of the time, so it's great to see another perspective. I do think most of the times you go the way of negativity, but always have interesting outlooks. Yeah, look. I don't purposefully try, like it's not my goal to just be, well, negativity creates clicks. If that's the way my brain goes, that's just unfortunately or fortunately how I'm wired. You know, I've gotten complaints I'm too negative, but here's the thing. I can tell you right now it's authentic. It's not fabricated. It's 100% how I feel. I don't ever make up views on the show. So while other shows may praise and just talk about what happened, but very rarely employ their opinion, that's not what this show is, right? For better or worse, some people like it, some people don't. But I appreciate that you are listening, even though you oppose seemingly almost everything I say, which is cool. All right. I thought this Raw was the best in a long time. I do have to say, though, I disagree with your outlook of Kevin. The new anger issue segments give him and Sammy depth and character development, make it fun to watch, and to me personally is my favorite little sections of the show. Also, the chemistry between Kevin and Sammy and Cody during the entrances and endings of the matches was awesome and funny. Well, No, I don't disagree that duo needed a little something else to keep things rolling. After the Bloodline had imploded and they had basically a mission accomplished flag flying around, they needed something to keep rolling, and it can't just be the same. I'm not opposing that. I'm opposing the method or the strategy of this. And again, I don't disagree with the goal. I disagree with the method of getting there. Of why does it have to be an anger issue? I don't know. And it just, for me, it's not working. It's not working right now for me. It's not the worst thing in the world. I don't like it because he explodes. Like he's a 40-year-old man nearly. And he has suddenly out of nowhere with no explanation, anger issues. I mean, that is literally how my 4-year-old acts when they have outbursts and they can't process their emotions at the time. So they just have outbursts and they have a hairpin trigger. You never know when they're going to explode. That's stressful. Kevin Owens is better than that. This seems like they're trying to force it, and maybe it'll catch on and I'll be completely wrong, and that's fine. It's just not my personal cup of tea. That's all. But yeah, no doubt they have chemistry. Absolutely. Yes. Also agree with Dom needing a title or Money in the Bank to catapult his heat to nuclear. But I've been thinking, what title? I cannot honestly see which one he gets. US maybe? Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Unless, see, I think he could be the world heavyweight champion. The problem is making anyone the world heavyweight champion as a heel right now is a bad idea, because then you're going to have essentially a Roman Reigns light on Raw. You've had that champion as a heel for 3 years. Do you really want another heel champion on Raw to counteract that? No. That's the problem. Even though Roman Reigns is on the show, he affects the decisions of the show. Why do you think they made Seth the champion, the world heavyweight champion? To quiet the people saying that, no, we never have a world title match. Nothing's on Raw, right? But now unfortunately, as I've said, they've gone to the other extreme, which is also not productive. And I actually think is a detriment. But that's the problem. I would love to have him win Money in the Bank and have him cash in and become world champion, but it's not in the cards. So you're right. It's going to have to be a tag team title. Maybe he'll win or beat KO and Sammy at some point with Finn or with Damian. Or you're right. Maybe it can't be US because Dom is on Raw and the US title's on SmackDown with the Austin Theory. So it would have to be the Intercontinental. But how do you get the Intercontinental to Dom if we already have a heel Intercontinental champion? See, the problem is a lot of heels are holding the belts right now. That's not conducive to Dom winning. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just not a traditional decision. So, all right. At last point, I'll say, please give up on The Rock coming back for the Bloodline. Let legends rest. Thank you again for all your looks and keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Look, I have I have tried to give it up, and I've pretty much not talked about The Rock up until recently, because when he starts to come into the news and you hear that there's hints and reports from credible sources that he is going to do WrestleMania 40, it's confirmed, you got to start talking about it at least. I'm not going to make it as much of a focal point as I normally would have in past years until it becomes more clear. But can you not agree, though, that it would be a really fun match and it's a tailor-made WrestleMania main event ready to go? I'm not advocating for The Rock to win the belt. Hell no. But you can't tell me it wouldn't be a money match. And I know you're saying, well, it's not going to happen. Let legends rest. Rock's made it clear he wants to. It's always just been his schedule. So we can say let legends rest, but it's not up to you or I. It's ultimately up to Dwayne Johnson. So, all right. Thank you, Tom, from Vancouver. And that will do it for the emails. So that means it's time for the all-important, fun, good old-fashioned voicemails. And that means we start off with our patrons' voicemails first, which is another great benefit of going to patreon.com. A great time to plug this, by the way. Patreon.com/WWE podcast. That'll get you priority placement, as you've heard in this show, on voicemails and emails. And you also are able to send a voicemail and an email where patrons that are that are listeners that are non-patrons can't send both. They have to do one or the other. So just a small perk on top of Discord and everything else. Not a bad deal. By the way, a little heads up. Patreon is going to be changing soon. From what I understand, they gave me a heads up. Not in a bad way. They're visually kind of revamping things and making it look prettier. So those of you on Patreon, improvements are coming in the next few weeks for the better. And there'll be more content from here that you're able to see and that I'll be putting out as like bonus option or bonus videos and things like that. So stay tuned. More to come on that. But all right, let's get to, y'all know where I'm going. Veer Mahan Report. Let's do it.
Podcast world. This is DJ Kuzma back at it again on your Mailbag show. Record to you live on a Wednesday morning. And let's get to your favorite show to come in every single week on the Mailbag. And I'm talking about the Veer Mahan Report. Now, the Veer Mahan Report took place this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, live from Cleveland, Ohio. And we did get an appearance of the initiate of my guy, Veer Mahan, Sangha, and the modern day Maharaja Jinder Mahal as they went up against Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Now, we did have a match. There was supposed to be a match between these two teams 2 weeks ago, but the referee had to call the match off because of the intense punishment that the initiate gave to Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. And now here we are 2 weeks later as we have this match, a match that was 2 minutes and 6 seconds. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander in this time, they did get an opportunity to get some offense in, but to no avail as the Indishir do what the Indishir do best, and that is absolute annihilate, absolute punish their tag team opposition. And we did get, let me just fast forward into the duration of this match, where none other than Shelton Benjamin, he did not pay attention as he was looking at the modern day Maharaja as he was coming back into the ring. Here comes my guy Veer Mahan leaping and flat out just squashes him down to the center of the mat. And of course, we get the tag team between Shelton Benjamin and of course Cedric Alexander, but to no avail. This was another dominant performance of the Indishir, as we did get to see, of course, when none other than my guy Veer Mahan does his patented Doomsday Tag Team finisher on Shelton Benjamin, and 1, 2, 3, the Indishir win once again, and they are now 4-0. They are now 4-0 on Monday Night Raw. What is next for this tag team as we go into next week? I don't know, but I can't wait to see the chance to see that they go up against the next tag team champions, whoever they may be. But for right now, this is your boy DJ Kuzmo. I hope you'll have a blessed week. Stay easy, my friends. Be kind to one another, and peace.
And there's the Veer Mahan Report every single week here on the WWE Podcast, exclusive to the WWE Podcast. So, DJ, thank you, brother. Thanks for keeping us updated for those that may not have seen, because I will say, still, WWE has decided not to put the Indishir on the Hulu version of Raw. They aren't or haven't reached that level of relevancy yet, but I'm not, that doesn't really discourage me. I think the Indishir are on a trajectory to eventually challenge Sammy and Kevin for the tag titles and have a very serious chance of winning those tag titles, whether it's right after SummerSlam or if it's even later in the year or 2024. They're on the path. That's encouraging. So thank you, DJ. I appreciate all of your work, and you stay safe as well. Stay Uzi, and let's get to our next one.
Sing with me, Matt. I tell you what, these crowd sing-alongs are becoming annoying. I'm actually finding myself, when it happens, that I mute my television until I can see they're starting to talk. I'm just not sure why we have to pursue this or how it's happened, and maybe as organically as it started, it will cease at some stage, but I'm finding it a bit annoying. But on top of that, I thought I'd speak about Bianca, because she said something interesting on SmackDown when she asked Adam Pearce why Charlotte just comes on, gets back in after not being around since WrestleMania, and gets a shot at the title, and that she still doesn't have her rematch. That is, Bianca doesn't have a rematch with Asuka. And then she said something that I will get my match or I will get that belt rightly or wrongly, I think she said. So this could be the start of a heel turn, hopefully. And I think this is the most interest I've had in Bianca since she's lost, or actually since a long time. So I'm quite interested to see where this is going to go. And her stating that she'll be ringside at Money in the Bank for the Asuka Charlotte match. My take is I'm hoping that, well, what I think may happen is either Bianca, I don't know, distracts Asuka or low blows her without the ref seeing to give Charlotte the win, and then Bianca, being the heel, goes after Charlotte, who will have the title, because I can't see it being heel versus heel. So that's my prediction. Bianca low blows or distracts Asuka, and Charlotte gets the win, and then Bianca as the heel goes after Charlotte. I would love to see that. Anyway, Matt, hope you will. Devin from Australia. See ya.
Well, first of all, the visual of Bianca low blowing Asuka. I'll just say if Asuka sells that low blow, I've got a lot of questions for Asuka. Okay, but I know what you mean. If she screws Asuka at the event, because she said at Money in the Bank she's going to have a ringside seat, so that means she's going to have some say in the outcome. Or she could be the nice little girl that she's always been and wait till the match is over and then just have a stare down with the winner. But this seems like something different. She's looked different. She's sounded different. She's felt different. It could be the beginning of something. It could be nothing. I hope it's something. And her comment to Adam Pearce was, I did it your way. Now I'm going to do it my way. Yeah. I mean, like it just means that she went out there and confronted Charlotte Flair to get an opportunity and or to call out the nonsense, the entitlement that Charlotte Flair has been given. And so I think that's what she meant by it. But you're right. It is evidence. If we're looking for any, it's evidence for or for a heel turn for Bianca Belair. So definitely. All right. Thank you, my friend, and hope you're doing well as well down there in Australia. And the crowd chants as well. Enough. Agreed. Totally agree. Like, I mean, the problem is we're in the era of sing-alongs, and it's kind of become a staple for a lot of baby faces. And while it's not a requirement, it's become almost synonymous now with big baby faces. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Shinsuke, while he's not at that level, does have a sing-along. And it doesn't mean it's necessary, but how do you prevent the crowd from doing it? And the crowds that go live are looking forward to it. It's the other 99% at home that are going, oh my God, please just shut up, sing along. But when the entrance music stops, you stop. And sometimes crowds go into business for themselves. Hopefully that's more the exception than the rule. But all right. Thanks, buddy. Let's continue on.
Hello, everyone. This is Memphis Mark. And since everybody's going back to their, beginnings, I wanted to know, Matt, your opinion. Mailbag's opinion. Ciampa. Can they do something with it? Is his look right? Can they push him to a position? Other than that, I love the mailbag. Hope everybody is doing well. See you soon.
Did not expect you on the mailbag, buddy, but it's good to hear your voice. That's it's a nice surprise. And I'd encourage everyone, by the way, here's your plug for your show. Check out the NXT reviews that Memphis Mark does every single week. Well done. Great audio quality and very, very insightful from a guy that has probably watched wrestling and knows more about wrestling than all of us. Okay, so check it out. That said, okay, to your question, or what do I think they can do with Ciampa? Do I think it'll be successful? Under the Triple H regime, if Triple H is truly in charge, yes. If Vince has a say and a significant say, I'm concerned. You remember when Ciampa was brought in originally from NXT, he had no direction. He was kind of a heel, showing up randomly, attacking, but no real purpose. Then they chopped off Tommaso, and he was just Ciampa, and now he's back to Tommaso Ciampa, but the graphic just said Ciampa. It's very confusing. But I like the aggressiveness. I like that he attacked The Miz. He's not aligned with The Miz this time around. He had a nice aggressiveness to him. He showed what he can do a little bit in the ring, and I think he can be a real player. Yes. Does that mean world championship status? That's a little far-fetched at this very moment, but he could be a relevant big-time player into late this year into next year. Again, what does that mean? That's kind of a broad statement, right? What does that mean? He could be in the Intercontinental title picture. He could, if they're going to keep him a baby face, which it seems like they are, they could absolutely have him face Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship on Raw. I think that's a nice place for him. He may be able to even win it from Gunther. We'll see. That, I think, is probably where he's headed, is to an eventual Intercontinental Championship match against Gunther. Not maybe at Summer, maybe as soon as SummerSlam. It could, but they've got a lot of work to do to lay the foundation for Ciampa, for people to believe he's a real threat to Gunther. You know, the guy looks like $1 million. Gunther, that is. Or Ciampa. You know, so that's where I think his destination is in the short to medium term. So, all right. Thanks, buddy. Let's get to our next one here. And who's this? Let's take a listen together.
Hey, Matt and the podcast. It's New York Kyle again. It's episode 4 of the Coordinator Report. It's NXT, the 2-week special Gold Rush to week 1. Cody got a win. That's nice. Finally. Her and Dana Brooke. Look, Dana Brooke, I'm not a big fan, but I think she's boring and just dull. Her character is dull. Even back on NXT, her career is still not very well. The fans turned on her in that match. It was hilarious. But, credit to her and Cora had a really good match. It was a really good match. And, toward the end, Cora won, but, like, he tapping her out. But, like, the way it happened was kind of, was basically, Dana Brooke basically was, it was kind of like a Daniel Bryan or something, a moment where, like, she was injured. She got injured by a move to Cora. She was put on a stretcher. Cora was, like, making fun of her, taunting her and stuff. And Dana Brooke got back up from the stretcher and attacked Cora. But then Cora put her into a submission. But then the fans immediately turned on Dana. They started saying, "Let's go, Cora." And Cora had her in submission. Dana Brooke was about to, like, grab the rope. They booed, and then Cora pulled her away from the rope, and they cheered. And they were saying, "Let's go, Cora." So they turned on the babyface Dana Brooke for the heel Cora shade, which is kind of funny. And then Dana Brooke didn't tap out. Cora won by referee stoppage, which I think is actually good. I think it makes them look both strong, because Dana Brooke didn't give up, and also the referee to stop the match, Cora was doing so well submitting her. So it's like they both, it's a bit with the win-win. So, and Cora won, so that's nice. But yeah, I hope it doesn't lead to a rematch where Cora loses, because she seems like she loses a lot of her feuds, just like the Seth Rollins used to do. Yeah. Also, Matt, I highly recommend Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. I know the dress rule thing it's dumb, but the match was a banger. Just saying. That's it though. 3 minutes almost up. Talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, Kyle, for the Cora report. I appreciate that. And I've heard a lot about Dana Brooke over the last day or so. She's actually trending on Twitter right now, and not for really great reasons. A lot of hate has been directed her way, and really unfairly, I think. Dana Brooke is trending. Yeah, she's trending right now. I know that there's a lot of talk about her receiving negative feedback from NXT fans last night and all that. And Dana Brooke has said, I think she did respond to those remarks, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to find her response, basically saying, "I get it. Y'all think I suck," right? Like, I almost pity Dana Brooke, even though she's got a job on national television where she just wrestles around in a ring. And she's got one of the most favorable jobs. Well, not favorable. One of the most sought after jobs among a large population of indie wrestlers and everything else. That's that pro wrestling community. She's got one of the most, just sought after positions. She's in the biggest wrestling company in the world, and yet I'm still feeling pity for her. But it's because of the way that they've positioned her. I mean, it's not all creative's fault. Dana is just kind of naturally awkward. That doesn't help. She does. She has a naturally awkward delivery. The way she speaks kind of is a natural awkward delivery to it, and that's just the way it is. But I feel for her as a character. But when she's probably laughing all the way to the bank. I mean, she's not making millions and millions and millions, but she's probably doing okay for herself, right? So I pity her to the point of just her character on television being completely buried year after year and somehow squeaking by every single, firing session that they do every year. But outside of that, Kyle, I did not catch the Braun Breaker Seth Rollins match, but I did catch highlights. I have no doubt that it was a banger of a match. No doubt. I mean, that's no doubt. I mean, that is a given, especially with Seth Rollins in the ring. I'm very kind of new to Braun Breaker's presence. I'm new to his in-ring abilities and his body of work, so I'll have to catch myself up on that. But I'm not doubting you. Absolutely. So thanks, Kyle. Let's get to our next one.
Alex, the French guy here, your current European champion. Been out of the way from last week. I didn't post. I was kind of busy. But I wanted to bring you a thought of mine for this week, which is also about MJF. Actually, now he's feuding with Adam Cole. And I thought that was interesting to share what I thought about MJF, not as character and everything, but what he's doing right now. In an Adam Cole versus MJF segment, Adam Cole brought that MJF was a bad person, etc., etc., and that's why her girlfriend, his girlfriend, left him and everything. We don't know if it's true or not. It's supposed to be true. Maybe it's not. It doesn't matter. What I wanted to say is that MJF, my God, I really, really enjoy this character. Wrestling stuff is amazing too. And I thought about something. I saw a documentary I think it was yesterday or something, about Tom Cruise and how he's a showman and everything, that he's showing up as an Hollywood star. And everything brought that attention to me that wrestlers are really, really made for Hollywood, like everything that you will say, oh, he's doing the showman and everything else, everything that you can see through Hollywood, all the fancy stuff and everything, wrestlers, I have the feeling that they are that they do that better, in a more sophisticated way, more organically, depending on the wrestlers. That's what I wanted to say, that in a general way, wrestlers are really superstars. And I highlight this not just in WWE, but some wrestlers really are more charismatic than some Hollywood stars or even politicians. That's all for me for this week. Enjoy your day.
Alex, all I have to say to you is January 1st, 2024. That's all I got to say to you when it comes to MJF. Because I am counting the damn days. Okay. Now, am I certain that MJF is going to sign with WWE when his AEW contract expires? No. Tony Khan has got very deep pockets. And I think AEW as a company needs MJF more than WWE does. Certainly. I mean, that's a fact. WWE will go on and be just fine without MJF because they've survived and thrived without him already. AEW, on the other hand, MJF is a pillar. He's one of the pillars holding up the place. And if he goes, it's going to be very difficult to replace him. And I think it's going to bring a lot of people over to WWE. I really do. Because he has a whole new just pool of guys to work with and promos to cut on. I hope Vince and Endeavor open their damn pockets and whatever they got to pay him, they pay this dude. Now, that also comes with a few strings. One, you need to let him be MJF. Of course, if it's a PG product, you don't want him saying some of the words that he's used on the AEW product, of course. But outside of that, you leave him the hell alone and let him be MJF. Imagine him and The Miz finally going face to face. Imagine him and Roman Reigns going face to face. Imagine him and John Cena going face to face. I don't even need to see a match out of MJF and John Cena. All I need is a promo, and I would pay just to see the promo. There are just so many untapped great moments that MJF has yet to do that is on the WWE side. I really hope that they realize the value of this guy and don't go, well, he thinks he's a big star, but he's not. No. He is. He is by far and away the best talker in all of pro wrestling. All. Independence, TNA, Impact, Global Force Wrestling, anywhere. Of course, AEW, WWE. He is the best. Now, Adam Cole has held up his end. He actually cut a better promo than I have ever seen him cut in my life against MJF, and credit to him. But MJF is in a league of his own, man. And he can wrestle. People often overlook that point too. He can wrestle. So anyway, I am a massive MJF supporter to bring him to WWE, and we are finally on the cusp of it maybe happening. So as far as the transition of stars from Hollywood or from WWE to Hollywood, well, think about it. A lot of the skills they learn to be pro wrestlers can translate very seamlessly to Hollywood. The acting, the facials, being on camera in front of a national audience, that kind of thing from a production standpoint, being in the biggest wrestling company in the world, they're always doing photo shoots, promos, takes. Like, they know how to work a camera. That's part of their job. So they've already got half the battle won by going to Hollywood. Now, not everyone translates well. Not everyone's a success story. But pro wrestlers going to Hollywood, it seems like it would be a very smooth transition, more than other industries, because of the skill set you already have of being in a wrestling company that is a nationally televised product. So, all right. Thanks, buddy. Let's get to our final voicemail. And who is it? Let's go.
WWE Podcast. It is Rocky T here with your Roxanne Perez update. Now, this week on NXT, it was Gold Rush week, and unfortunately, Roxanne was not featured this week, so hopefully next week we'll have a double update for you. But the reason why I'm calling today is because a special announcement. As you know, AEW Collision debuted this past Saturday on TNT, and it was dropped in my lap along with the Gardner, Michael Gross, and Memphis Mark to review the show. Unfortunately, as you should know by now, the Gardner was not available to do the show, so his nephew came on, Maverick from the UK. Now, since this is a new show, this is not something that we are going to be doing every week just because of life, work schedules, time zones. We won't always be available to do it. So, this is a casting call. I repeat, this is a casting call to all listeners of the WWE Podcast. If you would like to be featured, if you would like your voice to be featured for an AEW Collision review show, please reach out to me at Rocky's Club 007 on Twitter. You can reach out to Matt. You can reach out to Michael Gross, the Gardner, 144 Captain on Twitter. Reach out. Let's do this together. Please. We want to cover this every week, but like I said, we will not be available to do it every week. We're going to try our best, but at the same time, we would like to feature some of our listeners, some of our AEW fans. Not all of you maybe watch it, but you don't have to. If you're passionate like we are, if you're passionate about wrestling, you are listening to this podcast. So, again, reach out and let's make some magic, people, okay? Everybody, don't have a good day. Have a great day.
Rocky T. Sad to hear your Roxanne Perez report did not happen this week. Obviously not your fault, but I'm sure it'll be back next week. Yeah, great announcement, and I'm glad you were the one to be able to tell it, because Casting call alert. Agreed. Yeah, and again, the requirements, as Rocky T outlined, passionate, knowledgeable, respectful, kind of just being a decent human being. Okay, that's like rule number one. If you have a quality microphone, meaning, I don't want built-in speakers on a laptop. Those are usually kind of crap. Okay. If you have any kind of external microphone at all, usually those are infinitely better. That's really it. And if you watch AEW Collision every week, then yes, I think that would be a great collab to have people come on, listeners come on, and maybe have a bit of a revolving door coming on and talking about Collision. So there you go, guys. Casting call alert for AEW Collision to talk about it every week with Michael Gross and Rocky T and maybe even Memphis Mark. And again, given their time zones in life, it may not happen every week, but if everyone can line up, or even partial members of the team are able to come on and talk about the Collision product, even better. I would like a consistent review of Collision, even if it's a 1 or 2 or everyone, or, I would do it myself, but I just simply can't. I can't. It's impossible for me. I'm already stretched for no time. So, but I really would love that. That's a great announcement, Rocky T. I do appreciate that, and looking forward to hearing Collision, maybe on a weekly basis, but it sounds like it could be a little bit sporadic. But hey, on a podcast called the WWE Podcast, for us to cover AEW at all is kind of a bonus, right? So, all right, good stuff. Now, as I was talking, I was going to wrap things up, but out of respect for those that did email, I want to bring this to. I just saw these emails. I think they just came in. If they didn't, I don't know why they're looking like they're new in my mailbox, but they're quick, guys. So this is Mark from Germany, and he says, first off, I'd like to thank you for your awesome content every week. You guys do a really, really good job. I hear your podcasts since March, and now I'm sending in my first email. Very cool. Oh boy, the story of the Bloodline is so awesome. The best in maybe 15 to 20 years, and I'm so glad I get to see this live in London on SmackDown and Money in the Bank. I've been to a house show in Germany, but never to a TV show. And I will enjoy it with my son. That's awesome, dude. I love that. I really look forward to the events, and we'll do our part for an unforgettable crowd. Yes, we are counting on you, Mark. Individually, like specifically, we will point you out in a crowd. And if you're not making noise, we're going to call you out. Yes, but we have high expectations. The international crowds have been embarrassing the United States. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. So, do you think that the Usos will get the W, or will Roman and Solo take this round? Again, thanks for your work and have a nice week. Greetings go out to the WWE Podcast universe from sunny and hot Germany. Well, I guess you're kind of not burying the lead, but I really haven't thought about my predictions and preview yet. That comes next week. I'll tell you my leanings. My lean is that Solo and Roman win. That's my lean, because I have a feeling that this program is going to be going not just as a one-off. Nothing with the Bloodline is ever a one-off, and nor should it be. As you mentioned, they have the best storyline, the most successful storyline in what, 2 decades? Why would they have anything as a one-off, especially if it's been this successful with the players that are in this match and the first time that these two teams are meeting as opposition? So I would imagine that heels usually get the first victory, and then the baby faces will ultimately win out. But right now, I think if I'm leaning and you're forcing me to take a pick, I think that Roman and Solo win this matchup by hook or crook. I think that's probably what happens, because the payoff would be, you want to see Roman and Solo get, you want to see them get their ass kicked by the Usos, but why would they give that payoff right away? Everything about this storyline has been slow and methodical, but it's been deliberately done. It's been expertly done, is my point. So that's my leaning. But thank you, Mark. And one more. And this is from Chandler. And he says, random thought here, but does anyone remember that Office episode where Pam and Andy go on a sales call together, and Andy is singing the company names in the office, and Pam cuts him off, and he goes, I was going to resolve the melody. Now my head hurts. It feels like I held in a sneeze. That's how I feel when I try to comprehend the current titles in WWE. But we've already beat that horse dead, so let's change the subject. Yeah, I can't go down that path anymore, but hilarious reference. The Office. I don't ever talk about The Office. I mean, I work in an office and my big boy real job. So The Office is even more relatable, and it's the most rewatchable series in history, I think. Okay, but the Bloodline story is one of the greatest storylines in history. It's like watching a movie, and Roman and Jimmy's facial expressions are top tier. I'm not a big fan of Logan Paul being in the Money in the Bank match, but I guess it'll be okay as long as he doesn't win. I'm a huge fan of what Alpha Academy and Maxine are doing, and personally, I think it is comedy gold. The recent crowd gave Dom the most heat he's had from any crowd. It was great. That's it for this week. Okay, a lot there, but first of all, yeah, Logan Paul, I went over this earlier, and I continue to say Logan Paul will be a addition without winning. He's a red herring. He is a absolute asset to the match, but he has no business winning. It would make no sense for him to win at all, but he'll come close and scare a lot of us, including yours truly, but ultimately he won't win. No, it would be insane on so many levels that I outlined earlier in the show. As far as Alpha Academy and Maxine, yeah, I would agree. That's definitely the let them up segment. It's the comedy segment of the show. It's the comedy relief, right? And it's been executed well, I think. As far as Dom and Heat, yes, but again, imagine him with a championship. If the titles were just on babyfaces right now and they were long-standing runs, again, Seth is a babyface, but he just won it. And they're trying to counter Roman. They're not going to counter Roman with a Dom victory and then have him hold the belt hostage and not defend it and all that. It would go against what they're trying to do with the mission that they're trying to accomplish with the World Heavyweight Championship and Seth being there. So unfortunately for Dom, as much as I'd love to see him with gold, there really isn't anyone that would make sense right now. I mean, there really isn't. The landscape is not set up as such for him to take a singles championship. So, but yeah, my God, imagine when he does become champion. It's going to be just epic. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. That concludes the mailbag. That concludes my my podcast for the week. But for those of you on Patreon, the week is not over because I'm going to be trying to do a quick video update here and there, maybe a little bit of a news segment here and there for those on Patreon over the next day or two. I can upload from my phone, so that makes things easier. I'll try to do that for those on the SmackDown tier and higher, of course. You'll be able to get my video updates. I'll be doing that. I know I haven't done an After Dark in a while, so I'm going to put this out to those that maybe want to take over the After Dark for a couple of episodes. It's a completely unfiltered, uncensored show. You can talk about anything you want within reason, okay? I'd prefer if we don't talk about politics or religion, okay? Because even though it's uncensored, it's so divisive. It's just not worth it, okay? I don't want to hear about any of that. I don't want to go into LGBTQ stuff. I don't want to go to BLM. I don't want to go into anything political. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump. I don't want to talk about Joe Biden. I don't want to talk about, just that stuff, okay? So it's too divisive. None of it. But outside of that, anything wrestling related, just life experience, all that. I mean, hey, reach out to me. You can message me privately on Patreon, or you can email me at mailbag@wwepodcast.com or on Twitter at wrestling_audio. Check me out there. Or if you search me on Twitter, by the way, just the WWE podcast, I should now come up. So I changed my my visual name, so that should change. I'm also verified on Twitter, so you should see the blue check mark so you know it's me. And one last plug beyond Patreon is, of course, Apple Podcasts, which does provide ad-free listening, and wwepodcast.com or wwepodcastshop.com for all of your merch needs. Pretty cool, huh? Got my own merch. All right. That does it for me, everybody. I really appreciate everybody listening, supporting the show over the last several months and years now. We're continuing to grow, and we'll check in with everybody who is not on Patreon on Sunday for the weekend review as we enter the Money in the Bank week already. The end of June next week. It's insane, right? So thank you, everybody, for listening. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.